Welcome to Empathy Dinners. We host conversations to help people with opposing views try to understand each other. Our aim is to create a space for relating rather than debating. So we host a conversation on controversial topics and facilitate it to have an empathic dialogue. I'm Melissa, and I'm sitting here with my co facilitator.
Hello, my name's Andy, and I'll just add that it's about creating a safe space for all views to be heard. And our aim isn't for people to agree, but to understand. We don't take sides. We believe that we need more spaces where opposing perspectives can coexist and where we can learn from each other. It's not about winning, but let's pretend that winning is to have understood what is important to the other guest. And as listeners, you can play the game, and we encourage you to be open-minded as possible to the views that are different to your own, even if it's just as an experiment to see what we can learn. So we are sitting here today with Lily, who is representing the Democrats, who would like Joe Biden to be elected, and Alyssa, who's representing the Republicans, who would like Donald Trump to be elected. Say hi.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm honored. I'm a big fan of yours, Andy, so I love these dinners and what you do.
I'm embarrassed.
So the first round, the idea of having it as a dinner and the idea of the first round is to really put the emphasis on humanizing each other from the start, because that's what we think is one of the big issues with how polarized things have got, that we dehumanize the person who thinks the opposite view to us. So each person, Lily and Alyssa, are going to have 90 seconds now just to talk about what is important to you.
Great.
So,
should we flip a coin?
We'll go alphabetical. Alyssa, you have 90 seconds to say what is important to you, starting now.
Okay, so what is important to me? Something that is very important to me is to be intentional with my life in multiple areas. So faith, family, genuine friends, catch the genuine, and freedom. If you could all place your hand on your heart right now, do you feel that heartbeat? It's called a pulse. If you have a pulse, you have a purpose. And one of my greatest, ways to figure out what matters to me is to figure out what is my purpose on this earth. And so I want to be, I strive each day to be a better version of myself and stay steadfast on the plans God has in store for me. I often tell people this, that I refuse to go to my grave with dreams still inside of me. And I want to, encourage other people to have that kind of same mentality of going out, following your dreams, figuring out what your purpose is and your calling to do. So that's one of the largest areas that are important to me. Of course, family and friends and freedom, very important to me, but also finding your purpose and what you're called to do on this earth.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Alyssa. And Lily, what is important to you?
Empathy. That was what I did my TED Talk on last year. And I think being a very sensitive person, but also someone that, grew up in a very, sort of lower middle class background in a very diverse part of Chicago, I've been around people my entire life who looked different than me. I mean, when I was growing up, I was almost a minority. I mean, the high school that I went to, the high school that I went to is the biggest school in Chicago, and it's 25% Caucasian, 25% Black, 25% Latino, and 25% mixed. And I loved going to school there. And I think it really informed who I am as a person. I definitely am discerning, but I'm always willing to listen to other people and try to appreciate their perspective and listen to them. I love interviewing people from different backgrounds. I especially love interviewing people from different countries, even if it can be hard to understand them in their native tongue sometimes. And so I think what's important to me is appreciating diversity of perspectives and curiosity and empathy and learning.
Beautiful. That was exactly a minute and a half. Okay. Lovely. So we've now moving on to the next round, where each person has 3 minutes to say why they think their candidate is the best candidate to be elected, why they are the best, they're going to be the best for the US, for the world. Why do you think your candidate should win? So,
and maybe just to clarify that, we'll have one person speaking for 3 minutes, and then the listener will be responding for 3 rounds, and then we'll go to the next person.
Alyssa, are you happy to go first?
Yes, I am happy. And how long? I have 3 minutes, right?
3 minutes.
3
Starting
minutes.
now.
Okay. So I support Donald Trump because he loves his country. He supports the values America was built on and will fight to maintain our freedoms and liberties for generations to come. First, Trump's not a politician. Under his leadership, he has put the interests of the people first, not special interests or corporate lobbyists. Second, he resisted using federal government to control everybody's life during the pandemic. As we recall, America was founded on life, liberty, and freedom, and he upheld those values. Furthermore, he endures daily opposition to continue to fight for the greatest country in the world. We are no longer kowtowing to other nations. We are finally defending our national sovereignty and securing our borders. He's vocal about his faith. He moved the US Embassy to Jerusalem and appointed judges who uphold the Constitution and Judeo-Christian values. He opposes late-term abortion, decreased Planned Parenthood funding, and has been vocal about life beginning at conception. In addition, I think the resolutions and peace treaties he's facilitated between foreign nations have been instrumental in global peacekeeping. He's negotiating peace for our country and for our generation. He is the first president in his lifetime not to start any new wars. In fact, he was just nominated for the 3rd time for the Nobel Peace Prize. To be frank, the press really should be grateful we have a president who seems to enjoy lobbing, oh my gosh, I'm just gonna forget lobbing, rhetorical bombs on Twitter more than he enjoys ordering men to lob real bombs. Finally, prior to COVID, the economy was the strongest it's been in 50 years. It has nothing to do with what he inherited from the Obama and Biden administration. In fact, it was reported today, October the 29th, the US economy grew at the fastest pace ever recorded in the 3rd quarter, expanding at a pace of 33.1%. So, with that being said, I'm tired of Americans being taught propaganda of hatred of our country. We must do something about it. I believe Donald Trump is going to fight for me, and he will be the bodyguard for our generation. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Alyssa. So you've got maximum of 2 minutes, Lily, to say what you like about what you just heard.
What I liked about her statement, you mean?
Yeah, or the way that she said it. What she said or the way that she said it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought she was extremely well spoken. I liked that you were prepared. It was fact driven. You had conviction in terms of what you were saying. I respect anyone who has pride in being an American. I wish I had more of it. I don't. But anyone who is patriotic, I admire, because again, I think it would be easier for me to be an American citizen if I felt like that. And I mean, I admire that you brought up abortion in your faith. I mean, again, I'm the complete opposite. I am agnostic and I am completely pro-choice, but again, I respect anyone that, has conviction in their beliefs and is willing to be transparent about them. So, I guess most of all, I just admire that you sounded like you were very certain about your point of view and that, you believe that he's the right person for the job.
Thank you. That was well. I can see why you did a TED Talk. That was very good. Thank you. Is that what I'm supposed to say? I don't know what. Thank you.
You don't have to say anything, but it's fine just to appreciate. Okay, cool. So now we move on to the next round. Lily, do you have any clarifying questions so that you can better understand anything that Alyssa said?
Yes. So I am curious. I'm trying to think about how to phrase this. Give me a second. Sorry.
That's okay.
Can you explain your views on his use of social media? Because I think something that bothers me about Trump is not only how much time he spends on technology, but also the fact that he seems to use it as a platform to incite people and spread, information. I would just be curious to know more about that.
No, yeah, I had a similar conversation with a friend a few days ago, and he said the same thing. He's like, "Why can't we get him off Twitter?" Look, I agree. I believe that his kind of handlers, if you will, would advise him to maybe stop tweeting absurd or retweeting articles, because I feel like as you retweet, that's kind of saying that you agree with them, obviously. So I think that he needs to, kind of tone it down. However, to my point, I do think that the press should be grateful that we aren't, worried about sending people to war. Instead, you have to worry about what he's posting on Twitter. Like, to me, that's a much safer world we live in. Well, no one's dying.
What about the statement you made about the economy? Because that has always been something I've talked about with my family, one of whom is a, Trump supporter and a staunch Republican. I would just love to know your thoughts on the correlation between Trump and the economy.
Yeah, I think that Trump approached the US similar to the way he has with his businesses. As we've seen, he's had some record breaking successes and he's also had some big failures. But I do believe that he was able to, he could see that we had a decrease. We were giving more money than we were making, right? And so he pulled back on a lot of those international deals to give hopefully a little bit less deficit, right? So I feel like he's approached the American economy similar to like he has with his businesses, and with that, there's been more jobs created. People have been able to take more of their money back. There's less taxation, et cetera, et cetera. So I think he has been influential in that aspect.
Okay. And then one last question. How do you feel about America's relations with other countries and their perception of Americans?
So I actually think that we have a pretty good, Trump has improved our relations with other nations. The third Nobel Peace Prize, I think, says a lot. The fact that UAE and Israel were able to create peaceful negotiations in the Middle East is, almost unheard of. So I think that he has done a really good job globally at keeping more peaceful between nations.
Okay, thank you.
Cool, great. Thank you very much for the questions, Lily, and for your answers, Alyssa. So now we move on to the next round, the final round of responding to what Alyssa said. Can you sum up the key points that you feel Alyssa made?
I felt like the main point she was making is that what's important to her is family, faith, and finding her purpose and being intentional about her life. And because Donald Trump is someone who is known for having followed his own course in life, he's sort of like symbolic of all of these traits. She's obviously pro-life. So is Trump. I know Trump says that he, is a religious person. So I see that correlation as well. And then, I think the main thing that I gleaned is that you're extremely patriotic, and that is what he represents.
100%. 4th of July is my favorite holiday. Beats Christmas, Halloween, and my birthday.
That's awesome.
Okay, great. So Alyssa, do you feel that Lily really understood your key points? Was there anything that she missed that was very important?
Yeah, no, I think you did a really good job, Lily. Well done. Very good.
Thanks. Thank you.
Great, great. This is the moment we love. We love it when one person who's got the opposite point of view to the other feels understood.
Mhm.
Melissa, do you want to say anything?
No, I love the little laughters in between and the giggles and the connection that I'm seeing, and it's so simple.
See,
Yeah.
that just goes to show people with different beliefs can get along.
For sure, for sure.
Exactly. It's so different to the atmosphere on Twitter right now.
Oh.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah. So, shall we swap sides?
Yes, let's swap sides. So, Lily, you now have 3 minutes to say why you think that Joe Biden would be the best president, starting now.
Absolutely. So I'll begin, my argument by saying, I was fairly nervous to speak today. As I was telling Andy before, I've never been super confident speaking about politics. So I brought in some really great friends of mine and actually a few family members to help me. So I'll just name them now. Writer Joe Diorio, my photographer and one of my best friends, Joshua Black Wilkins, my stepfather, Michael Lipkin, my Aunt Patty, and a friend of mine who is a top doctor who does not want to be named. And what we all decided together, our general consensus is that Trump does not represent Americans. I grew up again in Chicago, which is a melting pot, and my friends all growing up were of all different colors and shapes and sizes, and they came from different backgrounds. And I come from no money, and I've done very well for myself. And so I feel like what he represents to me is everything I have the utmost disdain for, which is white privilege. And I don't think that he represents the average American. I've written 3 books and I've conducted, at this point in my career, probably around 2,000 interviews. Right now I'm working for a Wall Street company. Last year I worked for an architecture firm. The year before I worked for the biggest healthcare company in America. And I have friends that grew up in the projects and got knocked up when they were, 13 years old. And then I have friends that are bazillionaires. And I think that he just represents one type of person. And I don't think you can be a good leader if you're not willing to look for different perspective or look at different perspectives. For my last film role, because I also do acting, I played a sociopath and a narcissist, and I studied Trump for it. And I watched 7 hours of him on Netflix and YouTube. And I have been called an empath, which is someone who has a great deal of empathy. I could find no empathy in him. I think he has the personality type of a serial killer. And so I'm not surprised that Americans voted him in, though, because all we care about as a whole, it seems like, is money and our own, course and destiny in life and ourselves. We're like the most self-absorbed nation in the world. And we're not community oriented like the UK. It's why I loved living in the UK. And I've been trying to find a way to move back over there for the last 4 years. So in a nutshell, from talking to a good friend of mine who's one of the top doctors in America who is an immigrant, my family members who are all like me, super blue collar, have actually done very well for themselves. One of my best friends who's an artist, and another friend of mine who's a former newspaper reporter. We feel that Trump has no morals or ethics, and he is completely incapable of being honest with himself as well as with others. And I believe that it is a major deficiency with the American public that we voted someone in who, yes, is great on a reality TV show. He's a terrible leader. He's impulsive. He's a liar. There's no transparency, and he can't even string a coherent sentence together. So he does not represent me, and I'm completely and totally tired of having to defend this country. And again, I'm not patriotic.
Time's up.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Lily. So Alyssa, I recognize that a lot of what you just heard is very different to how you feel and what you think. Um,
Definitely.
But can you still, given that, find something in what you just heard that you like, or something about the way that it was expressed that you like?
So I'm thinking, yeah, no, I like that you had a council of people to discuss with you about your ideas. I think that's impactful to see different types of personalities, or not personalities, but viewpoints as well. I too come from a lower middle class family, so it's always good to see different perspectives. I like that point. Let me see. And I like that you had spent time actually looking into what he's done in the past. You know, you said he spent 7 hours watching him, correct? Yes. So you put in some time to really watch his, I guess, behavior. Now, of course, I think it's, you know, skewed, but of course we're not talking about that. So yeah, I like that you had a multiple people. I like that you, like you said about me, the convictions. Oh, all of a sudden I was worried my internet dropped. Let me see. And that you were honest about how you felt. I mean, I've heard friends of mine say similar things.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for saying what you liked. Now, could you move on, Alyssa, to asking about anything that you're curious about, anything that you felt like didn't really make sense or you want to understand better?
Right. So I guess my first question, let me see, I wrote. So with Joe Biden serving 47 years in the U.S. Senate, what do you think that he can accomplish that he obviously didn't do or couldn't do in the U.S. Senate and or in his 8 years under the Obama administration?
I think he has the right personality type right now to be a leader. I'm not the biggest Joe Biden fan. I mean, I think it's, you know, more so going for, you know, the better of the worst. I have looked into what he's accomplished. No, he is not the most impressive candidate. I will agree with that. But I think anyone who's been through as much as he has a great capacity for empathy. I also like the fact that he comes from a blue collar background, which I think informs the fact that he will have empathy for people from all socioeconomic backgrounds, all walks of life. And the bottom line is, you know, I watched the first debate and I walked out of the room and I threw up because I could not handle how Trump was just seemingly unable to listen to anything he said. So I guess the bottom line that I appreciate is his empathy and his ability to actively listen, and also his patience. I think he's a very patient man, and I think we need someone right now who is the embodiment of patience, because I do think the pandemic is a marathon.
Okay. And okay, no, thank you for that. And then regarding what do you feel about Kamala Harris? Because as to be completely transparent, my concern is with Joe Biden's cognitive decline, that Kamala Harris will be running the U.S. and that's scary to me. So how do you feel about her?
Again, I like that she comes from a first generation immigrant background. I like that she is a woman. I think we need a woman in office. I wouldn't even really consider myself to be like a, you know, feminist in the traditional sense, but I do think we need someone to represent not only a minority population, but also women right now. I like that she's outspoken. I think she's a total badass. I mean, I love how outspoken she is about DACA. I mean, that's something that I'm incredibly passionate about, having worked in restaurants for 15 years and worked alongside, you know, immigrants my entire life. So those are the things that I like the most about her. Plus, again, I mean, you have to remember, I'm the complete opposite of you. I am pro-choice. I love that Planned Parenthood backed both of them 100%. That to me was like a selling point enough. I think especially right now with the way the economy is, I understand that people get pregnant irresponsibly, and I'm not defending that. I've had some friends where they've had like 5 abortions, and I don't agree with that at all. But I do think that things happen sometimes. I think we need to work on our sex education. I grew up around girls that unfortunately didn't know better and got pregnant at like 15. It was very sad. And so I think, I know I really like that they are big into sex education, because I think right now we don't need more children on this planet who aren't going to be taken care of.
Agreed. Do I have any more time, or am I?
2 more
am I
minutes.
Okay. Last thing. Okay. So if Joe Biden were to win the U.S. election, how would you expect him to handle this COVID case? Because apparently, he feels like it's going to instantly change if he were to take office right away. So how do you expect that would impact the U.S. people, and do you think it actually would change? He can make that big of a change, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, again, I think either way, it's not great. I mean, to be honest with you, I think that closing the economy is a terrible thing. I mean, because I know, yeah, I mean, I'm someone like, I was like very depressed, I mean, during the quarantine. And, I mean, I think, thank God I know how to take care of myself mentally and physically and spiritually. But, I think it's bad either way. I do like that he has a solid plan in place. I like the mask wearing. I mean, again, I don't think it's that hard to wear a mask. I think it's respectful. I have a lot of older people that live in my building. I'm very close to my parents. They're both of the vulnerable age. So again, I mean, I only know what I've read about the plan he has in place. I think he'll get it under control. And I know he is working very closely with the medical company that I worked with, who's the top medical company in the country. So, again, all we know is what we read, right? Or like, right. I mean, I'm obviously friends with people that sort of have like an insider's vantage point. They seem to think that he has a more solid plan in place because he's willing to listen to health experts and, science-oriented professionals and people that are involved with the vaccine. So, I mean, yeah, that's all I can say is I think that the plan he has in place is better. But I'll be honest with you, yeah, I mean, I'm on the fence about closing the economy again.
I agree. I experienced similar isolation, so I completely understand where you're coming from. Thank you for that.
Sure.
Okay, lovely, perfect timing. Okay, so final round. Alyssa, can you sum up the key points that Lily made?
Okay, so let's see. I would say to sum up that, Lily, you are a free thinker, hardworking. You have a lot of compassion and empathy, and you value that in Joe Biden, and you feel like Joe Biden's tone of helping others is kind of what our country needs for the next 4 years. Mm-hmm. Did I do okay? How was that?
Did she miss anything that was really important?
No, that was great. Yeah.
Very succinct. Wonderful. Bang on.
Bang on. I like how you use that.
So Lily, you feel understood by Alyssa?
I do. Yes. I mean, in the positive way. I mean, and again, I wasn't trying to be disrespectful with like my portrayal of him, and I apologize if I was. Again,
oh my gosh, I've heard much worse.
Okay, I've done like biographical writing my whole life, so I feel like I look at everything as almost like a character study. Yes, no, you hit the nail on the head. Thank you.
Amazing. Yeah, I thought it was fantastic hearing the strength of both of your feelings, that both of you were then so respectful and really did listen and really did reflect back what you'd heard, and you didn't, there was no attacking, and it was almost like, can it really be this easy? Like,
yeah, I know. It was a lovely time. We could be friends, Lily.
And I have friends I have family members that are Trump supporters. I wish we had these conversations more often. I admire your courage. yeah, I think it takes a lot of courage.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, I won't lie. The first time I ever wore a Trump hat was last weekend, but I was also going to a Trump, not a Trump rally, but kind of a door knocking event kind of thing. And so I was among Trump supporters, so I wasn't as afraid. But yeah, does take courage.
Mm. That's amazing. I think that's what we're really trying to create in terms of having a space where we feel safe to actually be heard, no matter what our opinions are. And I think I want to pick up on what Lily was saying as well, that you don't feel so comfortable talking about politics, and that's something that Andy and I have talked a lot about. That we want to create a space where people can have conversation about topics that they're maybe not so comfortable talking about, or have the belief that I don't know enough, or
Right.
not well educated enough in terms of this topic, but actually having a space where our opinions and our feelings and thoughts matter.
Hmm.
And it was something that
Absolutely.
we experienced a lot trying to organize this, that people were scared to take part.
Yeah.
Either that they were scared, or that they were so, they used the word hate. The other side is so horrible, so hateful, that I can't speak to them. Both Democrats and Republicans said that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so it's amazing that we'd be able to have this conversation, that you've been willing to do it, that you can, that it makes it seem like it could be easy. We just have to listen.
Yeah.
Because I think at the end of the day, though, we're both Americans, like we're given an incredible gift. And I know you said you're not super patriotic, but I think that's kind of, it unites us. We have a commonality. We live in America.
Yeah, well, and I like that. I mean, I like this conversation because my experience with talking about politics is if you don't speak about it in a certain format, which is often very regimented, people knock you down. So I like that this was more like loose, as long as you had a strong point.
Great.
In the
Amazing.
last couple of
Yeah.
minutes, is there anything that you're going to take away from this conversation that you feel you've learnt, or any perspective that might have shifted?
I mean, I just think the format's great. I mean, like I said, it's like, I mean, I'm working for Wall Street now. I mean, I think a lot of the people that I'm like either writing about or their clients, I'm working with a big time wealth management company, writing hundreds of bios for them, are Republicans. And it's like, I mean, in my writing career, I've just learned to accept all walks of life. So if only every conversation was as pleasant as this, and I think it's just a mindset shift. So maybe you should moderate all the conversations, Andy.
There you go, Andy. You got a new job.
Well, all the conversations in the world. Well, we're definitely planning to do more of these. We're planning to spread this as a model, and to cover more topics. We're going to do abortion probably at some point. That came up as a big one today.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Alyssa? Is there anything that you feel like you're going to take away from today?
Just I think something that I've heard often, and similar to what I had a conversation on Tuesday, and it was just the tone of President Trump, the tone, his character, some of the things he's done in his previous life, if you will, before he was president. So I think and I've heard that point too, is he can be kind of he's a bit abrasive, but he gets stuff done. So I can see both sides.
You can see both sides. Well, that's what we're that's what we're aiming for.
Amazing.
Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you so much for taking part. I really think that this is a great service to humanity that we're doing here, in showing that these conversations are possible and bridging these divides between opposing views.
And maybe just to add for the people who are listening in, and as well for you, Lily and Alyssa, if you have any questions or ideas or topics that you would like us to host an empathy dinner on, or people who want to be part, so you can email us at empathydinners@gmail.com. And we currently also have a Facebook page and a LinkedIn page.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys. Thanks,
Thank
ladies.
you.
Thank you. Have a good
Thank
day,
you.
everyone. Or
You too.
evening.
Bye.